Ciao ragazzi, this is Talk Calcio TV. Welcome to Talk Calcio TV, buonasera. In this episode we go through round 23 of the Serie A fixtures and all the talking points from the weekend's games. So, we start our roundup from this weekend's games with the highest scoring game of the weekend. Juventus 7, Sassuolo 0. This was the Bianconeri's second highest win of the season, and of all the criticism that Massimo Allegri's team's taken in the last few weeks of winning games, not winning ugly, not being convincing, I think it's fair to say that was out the window on Sunday. Juventus hit Sassuolo for 7. Now, prior to this game, Sassuolo had lost all 4 previous encounters in Turin against Juventus, the reigning champions. That sequence continued. Juventus, now bear in mind, before the game they had Paulo Dybala, Juan Cuadrado, Douglas Costa and Bernadette Hounders, and even Federico Bernardeschi, all were played and they weren't, so say, 100% fit. Allegri went with that and it came up trumps. It was a hat-trick for Gonzalo Higuain, a brace for Sami Khedira, also goals from Milan Pjanic and Alexandro, which completed the rout. Gonzalo Higuain, that is now 35 goals in all competitions this season. Before the start of the season, people said he was nearly approaching 30, over the hill. He's still got plenty of goals left in him, that's for sure, and so has Juventus. They've gone out and they definitely proved the point, putting the pressure on Napoli. Also in this game, as we know, I mean, you could say Sassuolo didn't really put up much of a fight at the Juventus Stadium in Turin. But, that's it, Juventus, love them or hate, whether you love them or loathe them, they always find a win. This weekend it was a magnificent 7, so they stay in second and they put pressure on the leaders Napoli. So, it is still Napoli that leads Serie A. Of course, they beat Benevento in the derby at the weekend, 2-0 away. Now, if you remember back in September, Napoli crushed Benevento at the Stadio San Paolo 6-0. This game was a bit more close. There was early Benevento pressure. However, Napoli broke the deadlock after 21 minutes, an audacious goal from that Belgian again, Dries Mertens. Now, was it a cross? Was it a shot? None of us will know. When we first thought, we thought it was a cross where he could spot Lorenzo Insigne. However, the ball went into net. He gave them the lead on 21 minutes. And then, of course, Marek Hamsik struck just after the second half. Of course, the worrying side for Napoli was, of course, Dries Mertens was then later limped off, which looked like an injury. Now, I'm sure most Napoli fans would have had their hearts in their mouths at one point. However, Napoli doctors have said within the last couple of days that they don't think it's an ankle sprain. It's possible he will be playing soon, so it doesn't look as if Mertens is out for very long. And right now, I think it's fair to say that game in April at Juventus Stadium between both Napoli and Juventus, first and second, is going to be more likely going to decide the destination of the Scudetto. And if Napoli have Mertens, Hamsik, even Insigne, all their players fit, they'll need all they can in order to get over the line to get their first Scudetto since 1990. But they went about their business in the correct way at the weekend, just edging Benevento 2-0, but you guys are going to say Napoli, they will not care. They are still top of the Scudetto race. So, on to Inter Milan against Crotone. That finished 1-1 at the San Siro on Saturday. Now, I keep getting grief. I keep saying week after week, the Nerazzurri's winless streak is going to end. This will be the week. I think I'm a bit of a curse for the Inter Milan at this moment, because that winless run has continued. It is now 8 games without a win for Luciano Spalletti's men. Having led Serie A at one point, they have plummeted to 4th. They haven't won a game in Serie A since December the 3rd. The knives were out yet again after this result. Of course, Inter Milan were without their captain and talisman Mauro Icardi before the game through injury, so Italian international Eder took his place. It was Eder who was on the score sheet for the 3rd time from his last 4 starts. He gave the Nerazzurri a lead on 23 minutes, a bit of a deflection in the goal. They took the lead. However, Crotone then pulled them back on 16 minutes, a goal from Barbary. Now, obviously, a lot of unhappy Nerazzurri fans at the end of the game. A lot of the papers in Italy and other journalists are criticising Spalletti's style, saying it's dated, it's out of fashion, it doesn't work anymore. Now, you've got to remember where Inter Milan were last season. However, obviously, having led Serie A at one point, and they made such a great start, as most teams do under Spalletti. They seem to have dropped off a bit, but, it's an improvement. Unfortunately, though, it's that 3rd Champions League spot I think will be a minimum requirement, a realistic target for them. They lose ground on this one after another failure to win. That's now 8 games. I don't know what I'm going to say in my next predictions. I'll probably go for draw. I think if I get that one wrong, I'll get even more grief from their Azzurri fans. We then had Verona against Roma. That ended in a 1-0 away win for the Giallorossi. Roma finally win their... So then we had Verona against Roma, and that ended in an away win for the Giallorossi, 1-0. Turkish international Cengiz Ünder with the only goal after just 24 seconds. Now Roma hadn't won for 7 games. Knives were sharpening against Eusebio Di Francesco. They also had Lorenzo Pellegrini sent off in this game for a late high tackle from behind. Now when you watch it, at first I thought he was practicing for the gymnastics, but there you go. But you know, Cengiz Ünder has been one of many players signed in the summer that the Roma board, Monchi, even Di Francesco have come in for under criticism for. But he finally gets his first goal after all these games. So the Giallorossi, having been in obviously 5th, they gained some ground on Inter Milan in 4th. They were 1-0 away winners. And then we have Atalanta against the other team from Verona, Chievo, and that also ended in a 1-0 defeat from a team from Verona. Gianluca Mancini scored the winning goal on 73 minutes. Of course, yet again, the VAR had played a part. At first the goal was disallowed, but then it was overruled thanks to VAR and it was given. A win for Atalanta. Now, last few weeks they've just begun to feel the strain, Gasperini's men. Of course, they lost in the Coppa Italia against Juventus, obviously during the week 1-0. And they've also had some major injuries as well, which has taken their toll on them. You know, Mati Caldara and Papa Gomez have been massive losses to them, but they finally end their losing streak. They get a 1-0 win, much needed, at home. So then it was Bologna 1, Fiorentina 2, a away win for La Viola. Now this is another one I got wrong in my predictions, not for the first time. I had this down as a home win for the Rossoblu, given the way Fiorentina played recently. Of course, the previous week they were beaten 4-1 at home by lowly Verona. However, a great win for La Viola. Now Federico Chiesa scored the winning goal on 71 minutes, of course son of Enrico Chiesa, former Italy international. The 2 goals, however, before them from either side were scored directly from corners. And that's not something you see every day in football, let alone just in Serie A. Of course, Mirante and Polgar on the score sheet for their respective clubs. But Fiorentina finally end their bad run that they were on. They got a 2-1 away win there. So we then move on to Cagliari against Spal, a much needed win for Cagliari there. Udinese hosting the Rossoneri AC Milan at the Dacia Arena. Now in the dugouts, as you know, former AC Milan European Cup winning and even Italy World Cup winning teammates Massimo, Otto and Gennaro Gattuso squared off in the dugouts. They shared the spoils in the end. Now it all started well for the Rossoneri. Suso, of course, scoring that wonder goal from 30 yards after just 9 minutes. However, though they did have David Calabria sent off the Rossoneri later on in the game, it proved costly because, of course, Udinese then equalised. Now the goal's been credited as an own goal for Gianluigi Donnarumma, the goalkeeper. If you watch the goal, which I'm sure you've seen the highlights by now, I think it deflects off Leonardo Bonucci and then hits Donnarumma before going in. So that red card did prove costly in the end. So, you know, the Rossoneri just can't seem to string 2 wins together at the moment. You know, having won last week, they can't fill up with another one. It's a draw for the Rossoneri this week. So, last but not least, in fact possibly the biggest shock of this weekend, of course was played last night, Monday night, was Lazio against Genoa. Now, I'd have bet my house on the Biancoceleste winning at the Olimpico. You know, they've been in such fine goal scoring form, winning games. You know, they leapt from 5th, they've leapt into 3rd. However, it's going to be a bad result considering that Roma had already won and of course Inter Milan had drawn. They lost 2-1 at home to Genoa last night. Of course, Goran Pandev, an ex-Biancoceleste striker, he was on the score sheet after 55 minutes. Marco Parolo did get one back just 4 minutes later. The lead only lasted 4 minutes on the 59th minute. However, 92 minutes, 2 minutes into injury time, Laxalt scored the winner for Genoa away at the Olimpico. Of course, Pandev was booed at the end of the game from his former fans. Simone Inzaghi said in the interview after the game that his players were suffering from fatigue. You know, when you look at what they had on their bench, of course, Nani and Luis Alberto were on the bench, so say not fully fit. They did come on. However, Lazio failed to pull away really on again above Inter Milan. So it's definitely points drop there for the Biancoceleste. We finish then with the Scudetto standings in Serie A. So as it stands, Napoli, they are still top on 60 points. Juventus, the reigning champions, the Bianconeri, they are second on 59 points. There is then a 13-point difference to 3rd place, which is of course Lazio. They are currently on 46. Inter then 4th on 45. Roma, after their win, gain on both Inter and Lazio. They are on 44 points. They also pull away from Sampdoria, who are in 6th place. They are currently on 38. Below them is Atalanta, they are on 36. AC Milan on 35 below them. We then have Torino, they are on 33. Udinese on 32. Now, if you look at the bottom, Benevento, well, they're still on 7 points. Look as if they are as good as gone. Verona, of course, beaten at home by Roma, failed to build on their win from last week at Fiorentina. They are on 16. Spal, who could be getting rid of their coach as we speak, they are on 17 points. Crotone, with that point away at the San Siro, they stay up there. Chievo on 22. Sassuolo also on 22 after their 7-goal drubbing against Juventus. Genoa on 24. Cagliari on 24. Bologna 27. And then Fiorentina on 31. So the Scudetto race is shaping up. As I've already said it, I think April is going to be the decider between Napoli and the reigning champions Juventus. Tell us what you think. Don't forget to like, comment. Thanks ever so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe. Talk Calcio TV on YouTube. Grazie a tutti. Arrivederci. Ciao.